Treasure Island was a Disney resort in Baker's Bay in the Bahamas during the late 1990s. It was a place where cruise ships would stop and the passengers could relax in luxury. However, due to scandals, shallow waters, and unorganized management, the resort was later shut down and forgotten. At least, that is what Disney told everybody. A man hoping to uncover the mystery of the shutdown resort that cost Disney $30 million starts researching the odd story of Treasure Island's failure. He barely finds any information online. He then finds out that Disney demanded all newspapers, television stations, and internet search engines to remove any traces of Treasure Island. Eventually, the man is able to find out the location of the place through an old map he got in the 1990s advertising new resorts. He also reads a blog stating that somebody went to the abandoned area and found things smashed and defaced. When he goes to the Bahamas to investigate, none of the locals are of any help to him since they cannot tell him anything about the resort. Moving on, the man is then able to find the central palace of Treasure Island named Mowgli's Palace. At the gates, he finds a piece of paper with the words "Abandoned by Disney" written on it. He just shrugs it off as some sort of protest and enters. The place is overgrown with vegetation, insects, and birds. It is a mess of organized chaos. Trees are rotting, coconuts are scattered all over the place, and bright flowers grow with weeds and foul-smelling mushrooms. Charred, rotting wood and debris are all that remain of the outdoor structures. However, a statue of Baloo still stands. He approaches the main building and notices above the destroyed doors graffiti. It reads, "Abandoned by Disney." The inside of the building is very bare, only with tables, fake trees, and desks. The kitchen also has a very unpleasant smell. Then he notices in the freezer room, the meat hooks are still swinging in random directions. He grabs a hook to get it to stop swinging, but once he lets go, it still swings freely. Also, in the bathrooms, sinks still drip, leak, and some even run freely. The man later travels to the resort rooms, and in one, he finds a television and a radio. From the room, he swears he can hear this conversation. "I didn't believe it. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Your father told you." He then walks out of the building and takes a photograph of an 8-foot-long coiled snake statue. When he walks up to the statue, he examines its head. Then, the python slithers off the pedestal and into the grass. The man then discovers he is near the reptile house. He goes back into the building and pulls a metal wedge off the wall with the words "Abandoned by Disney" on it and uses it to sit down on some stairs. Then, everything gets horrible when he discovers a door with a sign that reads, "Mascots only, thank you." His curiosity peaks, and he enters the room. In the room, there are flickering lights, and it is fairly tidy. There are desks with notepads and pens, a punch-in clock with cards, a static-filled television, and some very old food and drinks. As he goes further into the room, the man notices more tables and desks are flipped over, and the light becomes more and more sparse. Mold starts appearing on the damp floor, with some scattered papers. Then, he reaches a room called Character Prep 1. Unlike the other rooms, this one is still locked. He tries to open the door, but it won't budge. When he's about to leave, however, the man hears a popping sound, and the door opens. When he enters the room, it is pitch black, but the lights then come back on after a loud buzzing noise. He sees multiple Disney character costumes, but the one that sticks out to him is lying on the floor. It is a photo-negative Mickey Mouse costume with light blue overalls. The man then takes a picture of the outfits that are hung and starts examining a Donald Duck costume. Then, something happens that scares him half to death. A human skull falls from the costume. It lands between his legs. Then, when he turns his head, his blood runs cold, and his legs turn to jelly as he sees the Mickey Mouse costume stand up. He tries desperately to take a picture of the costume, but his camera glitches and shuts down. Mickey Mouse stares at him and asks him in a perverted tone, "Hey, I want to see my head come off." The costume then pulls its head off. The result is foul-smelling, thick, yellow, chunky blood leaking from its neck. The man runs for his life. As he escapes the room, he notices the words, "Abandoned by God," etched above the doorway. He never returned to the palace again. Disney didn't want anyone like him to get in, and they didn't want anything like that to get out.